Hello everyone, Ismail is here. Today we're going to start a new lesson 2.2 solving absolute value equations. Okay, last time we start solving graphing the absolute value. Okay, so you can start with this warm up questions. So you have the equation, this one here, just to remind you how you can graph it. Just identify the center of your graph using h and k, or as I told you, always negative h. Then you identify a which is rise over run, always like this. Okay, you can find the lessons on my website here on Farah Math. Okay, now let's start. So first, let's solve the equation using the graph. Okay, now look to the equation here, which is 2 absolute value x minus 5 minus 4 equal 2. Now, if you look to this equation, let's take it beside here, okay, and analyze it. So my equation is 2 absolute value x minus 5 absolute value minus 4. Okay, so all of that is equal what? Is equal to. Now, to know how to find the answer, just imagine that we have the equal sign on the left side and the equal sign to the right side. So as you can see, we have two different sides for the equation. So let's imagine that the left side is just a function alone and the second side is another function alone. So that's mean we have two functions. Okay, can we give a name for each function? So let's say y1 is equal this function, y2 is equal this function. So now if I said this function is equal y1, this function is equal y2, so that's mean I can say that y1 is equal what? Y2. Okay, regarding to the equation that's been given. Now, using this information, so we know that y1 is equal all of these equation. So now let me write it here, y1 is equal this. Okay, and y2 as I identified it here, so that's mean y2 is equal, okay, 2. Okay, so now we have y1 equal the equation, y2 is equal number 2. Now, to know how to find the solution, okay, now what we need to do, graph both y1, which is this one here, and graph y2, which is this one here. So as you can see, we need to graph both of them, and where they are intersect gives us the solution. Now, if we need to graph, first we need to identify the center. We know that the center always is negative h and k. Okay, so now h here is what? H here is negative 5. So negative with negative 5, okay, and negative 4. So if we do this one, we will have 5 and negative 4. Always take the opposite sign of h. Always. H here is negative, so you have to take it as positive. Just always take opposite, okay? Opposite sign for H, same sign for K. Always like this, okay? Now, we need to identify A. Okay, A always rise over run, as I told you, okay? Now, if you look here to the function A is equal what? A is equal 2. So always when we have one number, we just assume that this number is over 1. So now 2 step up, okay, 2 step to the up, and 1 step to the right. Now let's start graph this one. So let's start from the center. So now my center is equal 5 and negative 4. So 5 is negative and negative 4 should be something here. Okay. So don't forget this graph represents two steps for each. Negative 2, negative 4, negative 6. Same thing here. 2, 4, 6. Okay. So each of a graph it's represent two steps. Now, if we remove this one here, okay, so this is the center of my graph, okay. So if you look here, this is my center of the graph, which is 5 and negative 4, okay. And if we go two step up, that's mean, because this one is negative 3 now, two step up, 1, 2, and one step to the right. So one step to the right. Also, we need to graph 1, 2, and one step to the left. So now connect between these 2 points. Okay, if we connect between these 2 points and let's see our graph how it's look like. It will look like this one here. Now, after we finished from the graphing y1, okay, after we finished from graphing y1, now we need to graph y2. Okay, so as you can see, y2, it's already said y2. Where is y? So we have the axis, which is this is y-axis. Where is 2? This is 2. Just to graph a straight line here, like this. So this straight line represents what? Y equal 2. Okay, now as I told you here, as I mentioned, intersect gives us out the solutions. Okay, so now where is the intersect? So the intersect is this point here and this point here. Okay, now what's the coordinate for this point? So the coordinate of this point is 2 and 2. What's the coordinate for this point here? It's 8 and 2. So now we have two solutions. The first solution it's 2 and 2. The second solution is 8 and 2. Now let's answer on the question here. Okay, the point where y1 and y2 intersect, okay, are where the first one is 2 and 2 and the second one is 8 and 2. Okay, now let's go next. The solution to this equation are x equal what? X equal 2 or x equal what? X equal 8. Okay, why x2 and x8? Because we know this is a x, this is y, this is x, this is y. So as you can see here, the first x maybe my answer is 2 and the second x, which is my answer is 8. Now let's continue. Now let's reflect on this. So if we read here, why we expect most absolute value equations to have two solutions? Okay, so why always have a two solution? So as you can see, because my function always will look like V letters, and if we put a straight line, so always I will have two solutions, two intersect points. That's why I'm going always to have the two solutions. So if you read here, if the absolute value expression is not equal to 0, the value inside the absolute value can either be positive or negative. So there can be at most two solutions. Okay, looking at the graphically, an absolute value can intersect horizontal line at most 2 points. Okay, or you can follow this note here. If you follow this note here, just to recall you from the first lesson, it was when we talk about the absolute value always remove the negative sign. So absolute value of negative 5 is equal 5. Also, the absolute value of 5 is equal what? 5. So that's mean negative and the positive, they will give you same answer. Okay. So if we have an absolute value of x equal 5, so x maybe is equal 5 or negative 5 because as you can see, negative 5 and 5 is the same answer. So now algebraically, if we have absolute value of 5 is equal, absolute value of x is equal 5, so x may be equal positive or negative 5 because we don't know. Now, let's reflect, answer the question two. Is it possible? Is it possible for an absolute value of equation to have no solution? Is it possible? Or one solution? Okay, if so, what would each look like graphically? Okay, now before showing you them graphically, okay, we know that this is the y, this is x. Let's say example, I have this function here. Okay, so can we have no solution? If you are smart, you will know the answer. Yes, we can. So if if my line, let's say this one is, let's say this one is 2. So if my line is here or there and continue, always will intersect with 2 points. But how about if my line is negative 2, which is here? So now there is no intersect on my line. That's mean yes. So if I can answer on this question, yes, it could be no, there is no solution. Okay, how about the one solution where they can intersect one time? It, they can intersect here. So if we put a line here, because it's intersect at 1 point. So 1 point mean one solution. So now let's see here the answer. So look, yes, for no solution, an absolute value can have a horizontal line above or below the graph and not intersect at all. So as you can see, look to the graph, this is my function and line may be something here. It's similar to this one. Okay, or this is another example. Also for the one solution, yes, you could have a horizontal line that goes through the vertex of the absolute value of a graph. So if you look to the function, okay, so you have the line is here, which is intersect only with 1 point, which is the vertex of the absolute value. Now, Let's start solving absolute value of equation. So all of this information will just help you how you can graph it. So if you remember, I told you when we have an absolute value of something, okay, we need to remove the absolute value. How can I remove the absolute value? I maybe where a is positive number. So x, it will be maybe x equal a, or maybe x equal negative a. So this is the disjunction we need to use to solve the equation. So let's say an example, when we have x minus 2, absolute value is equal, example, 5. Okay, so now how can I remove the absolute value? When you remove the absolute value, so you remove it with adding plus and minus for 5 equal to minus x. You have to do this. Okay, so how can I do this one in two? So you have to do it in two different equations. The first equation will take the positive, which is x minus 2 equal 5, which is positive 5, I mean, يعني. Okay. Or the second one, you need to take the negative one. You need to take the equation with the negative. X minus 2 equal negative 5. Okay. Now solve for both equations. So if we plus 2 for both sides, so x is equal negative 3. So this is my first x. Okay. Now if I do the second one, plus 2, so x is equal 7. Now if we check both answers, I have two different answer of x's, okay, which is make my questions true. Now let's go to the first example. Okay, now solve each absolute value of equation algebraically. Okay, then graph the solution on the number line. Okay, graphing, we just put the points. It's easy, the graphing. Now let's start solve this equation here. Now to solve this equation, okay, first we need to isolate x. Always we solve for x. We need to just to pretend there is no absolute value. Just to pretend. Now my function it's 3x plus 2 equal 8. Solve this one. How we can solve this easy equation? We minus 2, then 3x is equal what? 6. Okay? So 3x equals 6. Now, let's go back to the question. This is just stop here. Now let's go back here to the question. Now we have the absolute value. Okay, so now we have the absolute value to the question. I told you in the previous one, when we have an absolute value, how can I cancel the absolute value? How can I cancel it? So to cancel the absolute value, I should write my answer with plus and minus. So now it will be like this. So it will be 3x equal plus or minus 6. So if I need to do it in two ways, it will be 3x equal positive 6 and 3x equal minus 6. Okay, so as you can see here, 3x equals 6 and 3x equal minus 6. Now let's start solve them. So we can solve them by divide 3. So first x is equal 2, okay, and the second x, if we divide by 3, so we cancel them, x is equal negative 2. So now I have two answer, which is the first one is 2 and negative 2. So let's check the answer is correct. So minus 2 from both sides. Then we reach to here. Okay. So as you look here to both, so we reach to the same step. Okay. Then after this, we need to split this one to become 3x plus or minus 6. So we need to take each one alone. So as you can see, the first one is with a plus and the second one with the negative. Now just solve them normally. Okay, then you will get the answer, which is negative 2 and 2. So how can I graph 2 and negative 2? Just put a point. So x equal to, it's here. Okay, so just point here. Where is x equal negative 2? It's here. So this is my graphic. Okay, clear? Okay, one more example. So let's start solve this equation. Maybe a little bit complicated, but it's not complicated. Now let's start solve this one. So the first step, always pretend that there is no absolute value and just solve the equation normally. Okay, so now if we solve it, we start with a plus 2 for both sides, right? Plus 2 for both sides. Now, let's go faster. So, plus 2 for both sides, then my function will be like this, okay? Now, then after this, okay, let me stop here. Okay, let me stop here. Okay, so I can explain to you. Okay, let me stop here. So as you can see here, my function has become 3, 4x minus 5. Okay, absolute value equal 19 plus 2 equal 21. Okay, now just pretend the absolute value, which is 4x minus 5, you need just to pretend this one is like, it's like a bracket or a whole box. Okay, so just to pretend it's just a bracket, which is 4x minus 5, or just a normal box. Why we need to pretend this? Because we need to isolate the 4x minus 5 in one side alone, because x, okay, it's related to the whole box. Okay, so now what I have to do to just remove the 3, it's multiplied with this whole box. So if I told you 3x equals 6, so I divide by 3, divide by 3, right? This is just from first example. So same thing, you pretend this box is similar to the x, so you have to divide by what? You have to divide by 3. Okay, now let me use this. Okay, let's continue. Now I need to divide 4 both side over 3. Divide over 3. So 3 will cancel with 3. So it's remain 4x minus 5. Okay, equal 21 over 3 is equal 7. Now my absolute value is alone in one side. So how can I remove the absolute value? I just add plus or minus. So now it will be 4x minus 5. Okay, maybe plus or minus, okay, which is equal 7. Okay, now let me take it on the two different answer. So the first one, maybe it will be 4x minus 5 equal 7. Or we can say that, let me change this one to become 4x minus 5 equal negative 7. Now you can solve these two equations. So you can plus 5 for both sides. Then 4x is equal 7 plus 5 equal 12. So divide by 4, divide by 4. So now x is equal 3. So this is the first one. This is the first solution. Now the second solution. So now we have plus 5 for both sides. Okay, so we cancel this 2, 5. So it's remain 4x equal negative 7 minus 5 equal negative 2. So divide by 4, divide by 4. So you cancel this 2. Now your x will be x is equal negative half. Okay, negative half. So as you can see here, we have the first x, which is equal 3. Okay, and the second x, which is equal negative half. Now let's check from our answer here. If we check, if we check our answer here is 3 and negative half. So now let's plot them on the graph. So to plot them, negative half, if this one is negative 1, so negative half will be here. Okay, and x is equal to 3. So 1, 2, 3. So my second point will be here. I hope this one clear. Now let's go next. So here it's your turn to start solve these two equations. So try to start solve them by yourself. Then after that, you can contact me if you don't know or if you have a question. Now, you have this one here. Okay, this question, why I want to solve this question with you again. Okay, this is not just a normal example. Okay, this is a different example. Like, if we need to solve this equation, now check. So we use to solve this one, solve it as normal. So we have the inequality. So we need to make it on one side alone. Okay. So what we have to do, okay. So first we have to minus 3 from both sides. Minus 3, minus 3. So if we did minus 3, minus 3, let me continue here because I need to show you the box. So we have 3 over 2 x minus 2 square root, sorry, absolute value, which is equal negative 1. Now, listen, I want to ask you, okay, is it correct or in any type of questions my answer will have a both negative? Is there any possible it could have a negative sign here. It could have the negative. No, I told you when we are using absolute value to get answer what? To get a positive answer, okay? To get a positive answer like this one. So I give you negative 5, so the answer will be 5. If I give you 5, my answer will be 5. So always the answer should be what? Positive, okay? Now, check the question here. My answer is what? My answer is negative. So, because my answer is negative, it's impossible to have an absolute value with answer equal negative. So, what's happened? So, how we can solve the question, teacher? Okay, so to solve this equation has no solution. Check, there is no solution. So, that's mean okay, what's the meaning of no solution? That means if we graph the function, okay, so if we graph my function, so that means the intersect line will be here. Okay, this is not the original, but I mean, this is just imagine that. Okay, the solution, that's mean my line will be below, or let's say not intersecting my graph. Okay, so this is special case of the questions. So when you have a negative, so just mention that there is no solution because negative is not a solution. Okay, so now here, isolate the absolute values in the following equation to determine if they are can be solved. Okay, if so, find and graph the solutions. Okay, now just start solve the questions. If it could be solved, okay, so that's mean just simplify. If it couldn't, so you can just stop. So as you can see, plus 3 for both sides. So we'll have 3 over 5, absolute value 2x minus 4 is equal 0. So 0, is it negative or positive? Sorry, 0 is not negative. So can we solve the question? Yeah, we can solve the question. So if we add both, so we will get this. So okay, let me stop here. Let me continue by myself so you understand. Okay, now if we complete now my question, it will have 3 over 5, 2x minus 4 equal 0. Now, what I have to do, okay, I can multiply with the reciprocal. If you look here, I'm multiplying with the reciprocal, okay? Or you can divide. You can do this, sorry. You can divide by 3 over 5 for both sides, 3 over 5, okay, which is you can cancel them, okay? Or you can multiply 5 over 3, okay, for this side, and for this side 5 multiply 3, and the other side you have to multiply it also with 5 over 3. Okay, so do the same, anything that you need. So 3 over 5 is cancel the 3 over 5. It's remain 2x minus 4, absolute value is equal 0. Okay, absolute value equals 0, and 0 over this, 0 over any number is equal what? Is equal 0. Now we have two ways of solving this equation. So the first one is 2x minus 4 is equal plus 0. 2x minus 4 equal minus 0. Is this is possible? No. If you look now to the question, so now my answer 0, and here my answer still 0. Okay, so what's happened? How we can solve this one? Check this out. Let me erase now this one. We don't need it. Okay, now let me show you the answer. What we need to do if we have 0 absolute value which is equal 0, what we can do? Okay, so now when my absolute value is equal 0, okay, you just solve the x when it's only positive because we have nothing called negative 0. We have only positive 0, or let's say it's not positive 0, it's 0. There is no sign for this one, or it's just a positive sign. So when we have an absolute value, 2x minus 4, okay, is equal 0. Okay, so there are no two value, it's only 0. So just solve it. plus 4 plus 4. So you cancel 2x is equal 4. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So x is equal 2. Okay, so my answer is only 2. Okay, so teacher, you will ask me, teacher, the absolute value always has two solutions. Why there is only one solution here? Because this situation means my graph, okay, is connecting with the vertex. So my line, it just intersect my graph with one point. Okay, so this is my functions. Okay, now this is a challenging question. Try to solve it by yourself. And this one is your turn to solve them. Okay, so just to summarize the question. If I have a question, okay, like this, with both, let's say with positive number, this one you have two solution. Okay, so you will have for sure, sorry, you will have two solution. Okay, okay, if you have absolute value x, let's say example, x minus 2 equal negative value, which is negative example, negative 2. So this question has no solution because the absolute value never will have a negative sign. Okay, if let's say another example, which is x negative 2 is equal 0. So this one always one solution. Okay, so this is just to tell you the difference between this one here, two solution, one solution, and no solution and one solution. We have only these three things. Okay, thank you. I have you understand my lesson. I know it's a little bit confused. So if you have a question, you can come ask me or you can contact me on my website. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.